say, vapor of vapors. Says Qohelet, thinnest of vapors, all is vapor. And then the book ends in chapter 12, verse 8, saying, vapor of vapors, says the preacher, all is vapor. And it's this Hebrew word havel. And I think that unfortunately we translated vapor, which is better than vanity, in how most of them, vanity of vanities. So today we're going to be looking at the book of Qohelet, Ecclesiastes, just kind of walking a little bit through it. The word havel, I think, does have the idea of transitory or fleeting, which a vapor is. Think of it when you breathe out in the cold air and you get that mist, and it's there for just a second, and then you can't see it. It's gone. So in a sense, Qohelet is saying, life is like this vapor. It's like this thing that's there for just this little bit of time, and then it's gone. So notice Proverbs 21:6. The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a fleeting vapor, havel, the pursuit of death. Solomon, the third king of Israel, is credited with writing the book of Qohelet, which in Greek became known as Ecclesiastes. Solomon experienced life to the fullest, and the book of Qohelet records his thoughts on pursuing the things that most people think are valuable. And I would argue that many within churchianity think that these things are also valuable. My mother and father, like most parents, said things like this. It's important that you go to school to get a good education, so that you can get a good job, so that you can make good money, so that having good money, you will be, what every parent wants, happy. You ask any parent, what do you want for your children? They always say this, I just want them to be happy. Whatever that means. Nobody ever defines what that means, but they say, I just want them to be happy. And the solution, or the means to this happiness is, get a good education, get a good job, make good money so you can buy big things and more stuff. And if you have more stuff and bigger things, somewhere along the line, this will cause you to achieve happiness. And Qohelet comes to say, there's nothing wrong with education. There's nothing wrong with a good job. There's nothing wrong with stuff. But in the end, that's not what makes you happy. Because at the end of it, none of us have a guarantee for how long we're going to be here. Even though we pursue these things he's going to talk about. Think about these people. I was just a month ago, my wife and I were at the Mandalay Bay. Went there for an evening concert. A month ago. It was just last Sunday night that some people standing outside the Mandalay Bay, thinking to themselves, I'm just going to go to an outdoor country concert. That should be simple enough. There should be no harm in that. How are they to know? They had no guarantee, like none of us do, that somebody from a 32nd floor would start raining down bullets on them. And then you start to panic and you start to run. You think, how can I get out of this? You don't know that we don't know the people out there around us that are crazy, willing to cause harm. Here's what he says. Look at Qohelet 4:8. He says this. There was a certain man, it's on page 1, there was a certain man dependent, having neither son nor a brother, yet there was no end to all his labor. Indeed, his eyes were not satisfied with riches, and he never asked, and for whom am I laboring and depriving myself of pleasure? This too is vapor and a grievous task. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor will he who loves abundance with its income. This too is a vapor. You say, well, man, I just want to pursue money. I hear people say this. I've heard people in our movement saying, I just want to be wealthy. I just want to be rich. And let me say, there's nothing wrong necessarily with being rich. As Tevye says, may I be smitten with it and never recover. Nothing wrong with having wealth, as long as wealth doesn't own you. But having been in ministry for the length of time I have, I've seen this. I've seen well-intentioned, well-meaning people who made money their pursuit, and in the end, God was pushed to the margins. They had no time or energy left for God because they were busy making money. They wanted just one more dollar, just a little bit more. Is $1 million enough? No, 2 million. And they get to 2 million. No, 2 million is not enough. No amount of money in their bank account is enough because it's this endless pursuit. And then the question becomes, you're going to work for all this money, and then who are you going to leave it to? There's no way that you get to hook up a 18-wheeler to the back of your hearse as if you can take it with you. If I get just a little bit more money, if I just make it a little bit more, that'll do it. No, that doesn't necessarily do it. And that's what Qohelet is saying. He's saying, look, it's a vapor. You work and you spend your energy. It's good. Nothing wrong with working at all. Nothing wrong with making good money. But if that is the end goal, if that's the only end goal you have, it's vapor. I jokingly say my money talks. It says goodbye.
Quickly.
Related, yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah. But my money grows wings and quickly flies away into somebody else's pocket.
Yeah.
So money is this fleeting thing. Let me say it this way. To put it in more basic terms, it's only as we invest in the kingdom of God that we send the money ahead. There's a lot of people in our movement and in churchianity that are investing in this world, but it's all spent here and it's all dissolved here. No investment in the kingdom of God. They say today that most the people who attend church give less than 3% of their income, less than 3% of their income to charitable or to religious organizations. Less than 3%. We're spending money on a lot of other things, but it's not investing in the kingdom of God. So at the end of the day, if you're not investing this, and that's the key word, investing, it's not spent if it's invested. If it's just money here, and we do have to spend some money here, I get that. I get that we have to spend some money here. But then for everything else, you have to ask, is this investing in the kingdom of God? Or is this just floating away? Is this just being dissolved? It's a great question to ask with regards to our money. Then there's the pursuit of power. Second from the bottom on page 1. Qohelet 2:18 and 19. He said, thus I hated all the fruit of my labor for which I had labored under the sun. For I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool. Yet he will have control over all the fruit of my labor for which I labored by acting wisely under the sun. And by the way, this phrase, under the sun, means in this life. We're under the sun. This too is a vapor. There's a lot of people out there who say, I don't want money, but what I want is power. I want control. And they get a little more control and a little more power. And as they say, absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely. They become more, they want more. They want more power. Money becomes not enough, now I want more power. We've said this in recent weeks, how you look at a place like North Korea, this little country. I mean, little country. And every now and again, we see this happen in our world, on the world scene, where little countries, Cuba, in my generation, it was before this, there was a guy named, how many of you remember this guy named Castro?
Oh, yeah.
Fidel Castro wore that funny little hat and smoked a cigar. And he was in Cuba, which is off the coast before. It's a little tiny island. Now we got North Korea, Manuel Noriega, the names go on. We can have a whole list of them. And they don't want money. So after a while, they get that. They want more power. I want to be able to bring the world to its knees.
I want control.
I want to control the world. I want the world to look at me, and I want the world to have to bend its knee to me. I want all these civilized nations to have to come to me and beg me to do what they want. Power is just, and the power is, at the end of the day, destructive. It's not constructive. It's not like they're saying, we want to build infrastructure in the world too. No, they're saying, I want to get bigger and bigger bombs. I said a couple months ago that from the 1900s to the 2000s was the most deadly 100 years in world history. We became bigger and better at building bombs. We know how to kill people now better than ever. We've destroyed more people. And all it's about is power. Who can control? And Qohelet says this thirst and this lust for power is insatiable, but it's vapor. It's vapor. Go back to the 1939s. 1939 to 1945. Adolf Hitler, what does he want? I want to control the world. You can look in world history. World history is scattered with men who said, I want to control the world. I want to rule the world. I want power. And then they quickly pass off the stage of history, and things go back to where they were until somebody else arises who also wants more power. All right? Bottom of page 1, Qohelet. He says this. For what does a man get in all his labor and in his striving which he labors under the sun? Because all his days his task is painful and grievous. Even at night his mind does not rest. This too is vapor. Qohelet 4:4 said this. I have seen that every labor and every skill which is done is the result of rivalry between a man and his neighbor. This too is a vapor and a striving after the wind. Talk about futility. It's futile to chase the wind. There is a futility in that. He says, what does he do? He's thinking that his occupation is what defines him. That somehow that he finds his significance in what he does. I guarantee you, two guys meet, and the first thing that two guys meet when they ask is this: what do you do? That's the first question. I get on a plane. Inevitably, I sit down, and whether it's a guy or a girl, they say, so, what do you do? As if that's what defines me. And I always like to say, you won't believe me if I tell you. And they go, well, try me. So I say, try me. Well, I like to teach at a Messianic Jewish congregation. And they're like, you're right. I didn't believe you. I don't believe you. So that's what I like to do. I said, I like to pursue study of the Hebrew Scriptures and study of the Hebrew language so that we can get this out there to everybody. And they just look at you like, well, they want to know what you do. Instead of who are you in the sense of internally, they want to know who you are by what you do, by what occupation you have. And Qohelet says, if you define yourself by your occupation, that is vapor for this reason. At the end of the day, you're probably not going to do what you're doing now for the rest of your life. How many guys do I know who, when they retired, their identity was just dried up? Because they're no longer doing what they did and what defined them.
That's when they die.
You see a lot of people die because they're like, well, I'm not doing anything anymore. I used to do this, now I'm not doing that, and therefore, I guess I'm of no value. And so that they figure, well, it's all over. Because that's who I was. I was this, or I was that. So well, I'm a teacher, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. Say, well, you know what? You're more than that. You're more than just what you do. Qohelet says, look, if you don't see that you're more than just what you do for a living, what gets you a paycheck, then if that's the only thing that defines you, understand that that's a vapor. That's fleeting. Because you're not going to be able to do it forever. In fact, notice what he says. If you go back, he says, I see that every labor and every skill which is done is the result of rivalry between a man and his neighbor. There's one I read before that, where he says, all his days his task is painful and grievous. Even at night his mind does not rest. It's like, what does it do? It wears down the body. It wears down the body and the mind. Next pursuit. Oh, here's the big one. Here's the big one. This is our culture. Oh, we're going to find the fountain of youth. The elixir that will keep us from aging. He says, I said to myself concerning the sons of men, God has surely tested them in order for them to see that they are beasts. For the fate of the sons of men and the fate of beasts is the same. You know what happens to animals and men? They both die. As one dies, so dies the other. Indeed, they all have the same breath, and there is no advantage for man over beast, for all is fleeting. Rejoice, young man. Look at, he says this, chapter 11. Rejoice, young men, during your childhood, and let your heart be pleasant during the days of your manhood. And follow the impulses of your heart and the desire of your eyes. Yet know that God will bring you to judgment for all these things. So remove grief and anger from your heart and put away pain from your body, because childhood and the prime of life are fleeting. In other words, you can't stay young forever. You think, when you're young, you think, man, I feel good. I'm strong and healthy. Feel real good. This could go on forever. Then you get to be 50 and you go, oh my stars, I got pains in places I didn't know I had. I can't do the same things I did before and not have the pain. So now the solution becomes, well, I'll pursue health. I'll pursue health. So I like going to the YMCA Lakewood. Every year, January comes, and we are filled with many people. And they walk the track, and they do all the stuff. And they think that this is going to bring them health, that they're going to recover their health. And here, the truth is, it's great to eat right. It's awesome. It's great to pursue exercise. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, eating right and exercising doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to live any longer. It's good to do it. I encourage, and I'm trying to eat better. I think it's great to eat better and to eat better quality food and smaller portions. Absolutely. I think that's great. And I think it's good to exercise, because bodily exercise does profit little. But the thing is, how many people that got shot on Sunday night were healthy? Time and chance happen to those who are healthy. Nobody has a guarantee. In other words, Qohelet would tell you there's no guarantee that just because you eat well and exercise that you're going to live longer. Doesn't prevent you from having a stroke, high blood pressure, diabetes, all these other things. Genetics is working against you. The culture is working against you. A lot of things are working against you. So it's transitory, it's fleeting. But nothing wrong with eating well and having good health. But at the end of the day, if your goal in life, the target of your life is, well, I just want to eat well and exercise so I can live long, that is going to be a very, very transitory, very, very fleeting thing. Because age will eventually catch up with you. Gravity catches up with you. Yes?
I saw some words of wisdom on the back of a delivery truck. The truck was owned by Best Pies of Seattle. And on the back of the truck, it says, life is uncertain, so eat your dessert first.
Absolutely.
Amen. I agree. Always if you can first, have room for it.
But I want to be heard saying this, that nothing wrong with eating good. Not only eating well, nothing wrong with exercise. I think exercise is great. I think eating well is good. Qohelet will just tell you, yeah, eat well, exercise, but if you put all your eggs in that basket, you're going to find that there's a lot of other things working against you. Those are, he would say it this way, those are no guarantee.
There's no magic pill.
There's no magic pill that's going to make sure that you live forever. How about this one? Another pursuit. Pleasure. He says in Qohelet 2:3, I explored with my mind how to stimulate my body with wine while my mind was guiding me wisely, and how to take hold of folly until I could see what good there is for the sons of men to do under the heaven the few years of their lives. He says this in chapter 7, verse 6. For as the crackling of thorn bushes under a pot, there's an imagery, so is the laughter of the fool, and this too is futility. He says, and we have a whole culture, subculture that's built around pleasure. Let's entertain ourselves. Let's have fun. Let's amuse ourselves. We have amusement parks. We have fun centers. And people that want to give their lives over to just pursuing fun. I met these guys in the hostel I stayed at in Jerusalem. And these guys were like 25 to 26. Those ranges, you know. And I would say to them, this is the Abraham hostel. I would say to them, so, what's your situation? You know, what's going on with you? Tell me your story. And they would say, well, my father is independently wealthy. I've met a lot of these. My father's independently wealthy, so what I do is he just gives me money whenever I ask for it, and I just travel and see the world. That's all I do. I don't have a job. I don't really ever plan on having a job because he's going to leave me all his wealth, and so what I do is I just go out and have fun. I take a cruise, I fly here, I fly there, I do this and that. It's all about amusement. It's all about having fun. And I just go from one thrill to the next. Oh no, it's fun. I mean, these guys have fun. I mean, they're going all over the place. They jet set, they boat, they do everything. They have all kinds of fun. And you think to yourself, you're 25 to 26, and your whole life is because you've got, dad has money, and he's willing to give it to you in order to get you out of his hair, and to keep you away from him, as long as you go somewhere, and pursue pleasure. Just, do whatever you want to do. Just don't get in trouble. Fly here, fly there, boat here, boat there, whatever, just stay out, don't cause me any trouble, and have fun. Don't embarrass me, have fun. And I see these guys, and I'm thinking to myself, there was more than one of these. I'm thinking to myself, so your whole life is going to be about pursuing pleasure. We're entertaining ourselves to death. We can't, think about this, we can't pay teachers, we can't buy new curriculum. We have all kinds of problems, but we build huge stadiums. So we can watch those who entertain us.
I don't want to anyways. They make me mad. Yeah.
We are a culture that loves our games. We love our games.
So does the Romans. Yep.
So the Romans. Yeah. We love theater, nothing wrong with it. We love TV. We love movies. We love sports. We are an entertainment culture. We love board games. We're entertaining ourselves. But in the end, are those pursuits fleeting, or are they Or are they substantial? I would argue that they're fleeting. Because you need, here's what happens, you get this thrill. Well, then you need a bigger thrill. Then you need a bigger thrill in order to get the same rush.
Which is why I said those guys that are doing this and always having fun in like 20 years or whatever, you know, there's nothing left. Yeah, there's nothing left. I've done everything. I've done this. I've done that. So then what? Then it's boring.
Yeah. And by the way, I could put in this pursuit of pleasure a subcategory of that. Hold on a second. A subcategory of this pursuit of pleasure that you could, I didn't make a set point, but you could, Qohelet certainly goes there, is a culture, and we have a culture this way too, that is absolutely obsessed with sex. Absolutely obsessed with it. That would be another subheading under pursuit of pleasure. And they don't care about relationships. It's never about the relationship in this. This is about just pleasure.
Yeah.
If I can pleasure myself and get pleasure, you're not a human being. You're just someone to gratify my lust. That's how they take it. No relationship. This is not about a covenant commitment. It's not about walking down an aisle and marrying somebody. This is just a score. I just want to score. It's a game. It's a total game for pleasure. Use somebody, use and lose.
Yeah.
And be done with. You throw them out like they're tomorrow's trash because, well, I got out of you and you got out of me what we wanted. I let you use me, I use you, and we're done. And this is the culture we live in. That's a subculture of this concept. And how fleeting is that? How fleeting, I'll tell you how fleeting that is. They don't tell you this. That there's a whole host of, I have a little video presentation I could give you that I had to give. There are tons of STDs. Because people are just, what they don't realize is that they think, well, I'm just having relations with this person. No, what you're having relations with is this person and all the people that they've had relations with, and all the people they've had relations with, and all the people they've had relations with. So you think, well, I just had one fling with one person. Actually, you were in bed with about 100, 150 people. And anything that they had or contracted, you have. And some of this stuff we can't get rid of. We can treat it, we can treat the symptoms, but we can't get rid of the real problem. And we have a culture, a subculture, that is just inundated with pleasure. That's where we are. But here's the thing that Qohelet says. Yeah, you can gratify. You can reach this new high. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's fleeting because it's not really investing in the kingdom of God. Here's the more subtle one. Bottom of the page. The pursuit of religion. He says, guard your steps as you go to the house of God and draw near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools. For they do not know that they are doing evil. Do not be hasty in word or impulsive in thought to bring up a matter in the presence of God. For God is in heaven and you are on the earth. Therefore let your words be few. Isn't that a great one? For the dream comes through much effort and the voice of a fool through many words. When you make a vow to God, do not be late in paying it, for he takes no delight in fools. Pay what you vow. It is better that you should not vow than you should vow and not pay. Do not let your speech cause you to sin, and do not say in the presence of the messenger of God that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry on account of your voice and destroy the work of your hands? For in many dreams and in many words there is emptiness. Then it says this, rather fear God. So that brings us to this question. If money, power, occupation, health, pleasure, or religion doesn't bring peace and contentment, then what should one pursue? Qohelet provides us with two answers. He says this. First, find joy with family and friends around a shared table of fellowship. He says this. There is nothing better for a man than to eat and drink and to tell himself that his labor is good. This also I have seen that it is from the hand of God. Enjoy life with the woman whom you love all the days of your fleeting life, which he has given to you under the sun. For this is your reward in life and in your toil in which you have labored under the sun. So the first thing he says is, it's great to have friends and family around a shared table of fellowship, where you invest yourselves in their lives. As you talk and as you share food, you commune. He says, this is good. This is the good thing. Enjoy family and friends around a table of fellowship. And he says, enjoy the wife of your youth. That's the first thing. Then the second thing he says is this. Find joy in pursuing obedience to God's commands. He ends this way. The conclusion, when all has been heard, is fear God and keep his commandments. Because this applies to every person. So what should one pursue? One should pursue a relationship, a strong, vital relationship with your family and friends, building strong bridges into their lives, built around a table of fellowship. And then secondly, one should pursue knowledge of, so that one can be obedient to the commandments of God. Because at the end of the day, the only two things that last are people, your relationship with people, and God. Obedience, so put it this way. Love your neighbor, love your God. Serve your neighbor and your family, serve your God. But the way you serve him, the way you love him, is by being obedient to his commandments. These are the two things Qohelet comes to us and says, at the end of the day, this is what you should pursue. Everybody else around you is going to pursue this other stuff. And some of these things, in and of themselves, aren't bad. How about this? How about we say to our kids, get as much education as you can, so you get a great job, so you make great money, so that you can invest as much of that money as you possibly can in the kingdom of God. Building his kingdom, not yours. That's the message. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with a little entertainment. All of these things in moderation are great. The difficulty is we tend to move past moderation into obsession. And once we become obsessed with these things, then they start to control our lives, and they move us away from pursuing relationships with family and friends, and from pursuing relationship with our God. If whatever you are doing moves you away from fellowship with your wife and your children and your friends around the table, or moves you away from obedience to the commandments of God, you should seriously question whether it's a valuable pursuit. And ask yourself the question, is this eternal or is this fleeting? Is this transitory or is this eternal? Is this investing in this world or is it investing in the kingdom of God? These are questions we should continually be asking ourselves. What I'm about to do, what I'm about to say, what I'm about to spend, everything that you're doing, to bring all of it under that rubric, to say, is this eternal or is it transitory? Is it only going to benefit me here, or will it benefit me here and there? I've said in the past that I used to admire intelligent people. I said this yesterday to somebody. I said, you know what? I've come now where I really just admire kind people. People that just want to sit and enjoy table fellowship and just have fun around a table and just enjoy each other. Hand me some food. Let's talk. Let's enjoy each other. And I see people, because my wife works in long-term care, they get older. We're all going to get older. And they end up at times because of necessity, into assisted living or into nursing homes. And now they're in their 70s, late 70s, early 80s, sometimes because they need to be there for medical reasons, not because the family doesn't love them. There are many of them. I have seen over the years where many of them have no friends or family that come and talk to them. None of their family wants to be around them. None of their friends want to be around them. Maybe the friends you have are because, see, this goes back to the prodigal son. Maybe the friends you have are there because you have money and power and health and pleasure. See, there will be people that will be around you when you have all that stuff. They want to be on that gravy train. When the money dries up, when the pleasure dries up, when the occupation goes away, when the health starts to go, and all these people start to go, you realize, well, they weren't really true friends. So the question is, evaluate your friendships to say, are these truly kingdom friends? I'll tell you how you know if they're a kingdom friend. A, they're not heavily pursuing these things. They also enjoy fellowship around a table with you, and they enjoy pursuing obedience to God's commands. That's how you know. Look at how they live their life. What do they value? Do they value money, power, health, pleasure? Is that where they place their value? Hey, man, I got more money. Oh, okay. What do you do with it? I got my health. Well, that's going to go away eventually. Well, then I'm pursuing pleasure. I'm going on another cruise, going on another flight. We're going to go here, we're going to go there. Okay. Nothing wrong with any of that in and of itself. But eventually all that runs out. And what happens? Will they be your friends when the money runs out, when the pleasure runs out, when the health runs out? The irony is, if they're a true friend, they'll be willing to sit with you around a table and just enjoy your fellowship, and no matter how old you are. And they will always be pursuing obedience to God's commandments and encouraging you to be obedient to God's commandments as well. That will be the thrust of the relationship. Questions, comments?
I just want to say, I'm in AA, we really talk about fellowship all the time. But we talk about God first and fellowship. It's like the biggest thing. We sit around like big tables and talk. And I got to say, it has done wonders for me, and it's taught me how to be a better human being and how to be you guys see an end product of years of sobriety. You didn't see me when I would have been a mess. You wouldn't look at this building. You'd be like, oh no, that's but I just want to throw it out there. It's funny how, people always say, well, it's not religious or anything, but I got to tell you, for the people who are successful, it is. It is. It is.
Yeah.
I haven't learned a whole lot, as you know. But one of the things I have learned over the years is that you can count your friends on one hand.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the rest
You
are acquaintances.
close friends, you true friends.
And they're going to come and go, acquaintances. But your friends, you should be able to count them on one hand. Anything more than that? True friends.
Well. Thoughts, comments? Okay, good. What?
Seek first the kingdom,
Seek first the kingdom of God.
and everything else will fall into place. So you don't have to pursue the other things first. You seek God first, then
Right.
He'll give you whatever you need, and sometimes there's things that we want that we don't need.
Right. And some of these things, like I said, some of these things in moderation, in small dosages, sure. There's nothing wrong with a vacation. I'm not saying that. That's on the pleasure side. Sure, you should have a vacation. But if you live your whole life to that, that's what you give your life over to. No. Nothing wrong with having money, as long as money doesn't have you. It's about priority and about focus and what you do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, during the entire communication just now, the whole thing that went through my head is the parallel in the Gospels where it says, build treasures in heaven and not on the earth where the moths can destroy them and stuff. I mean, it's basically the parallels. Just
Right.
It's really.
It's like you buy that coat, you buy a coat, and what happens to the coat? The moths come in and start eating it. It starts deteriorating right away because time gets to it.
Or over the years, it doesn't fit anymore.
Right. Or this doesn't
They
fit.
shrink in the closet.
They do.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
shrinks, all my clothes have shrunk in the closet.
Yes.
I don't understand that. It's like, they just started shrinking on their own.
My pants did that last week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what it is. I didn't even touch them, they just shrunk.
Okay. We're talking about the pleasure. We live in pleasure right now because we worked forever with our dream of retirement. Last year, God told him we were leaders to celebrate recovery, AA, but in church. And before we found out how sick he was, says you ought to take CR on the road and give your test, because our plan was to travel the United States, or is our plan, and to take it and give our testimonies in strange church with complete strangers. I'd be scared to death. That did it. I was scared, but we're doing what God told us to do, and so it is pleasurable. So
Sure. By the way, I think,
granted,
yeah,
but it's in God's hands of
Right.
where we go. And God had a reason for us to be here. For us.
Sure.
We have my sister Tortorinis and my brothers as well, if nothing else.
Torment.
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's all good. I think that's very cool. Yeah, right.
All these things that we're speaking of here this morning can be a blessing,
Mhm.
but don't let them become an idol.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's the key, is that moderation, small dosages, in the right, but at the end of the day, what I want all of us to hear is that, what really matters, when you get to the end, the money isn't gonna come with you. The pleasure isn't gonna come with you. The things that you're going to, at the very end, the thing that's gonna mean the most will be the friendships that you have around the table. Those friends, because what has the potential for eternity? Our relationships with each other. Those have that potential for eternal. So build these relationships. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's so huge that we have, like, we're gonna go down and eat. Because I have found that we talk to each other across the table and tell each other things that we won't tell each other just in passing. You just sit down and you say, hey, by the way, and you start talking about things that you wouldn't know about people otherwise from meeting with them. When you break bread with somebody, when you sit down and talk over a shared meal, there's something that allows barriers to fall, and you can enter into each other's lives. You build relationship. You build friendship.
Brent, but small doses, that's a relative statement, especially when it comes to a slice of berry pie.
Yeah. You should probably be.
And that relationship is one of the things that we're losing in this technology isolationist
Yeah.
society. Is I think you said it before. You go into a restaurant.
I did.
See 4 people.
I did. I went to a restaurant. I was at 4 people at the table. And they were all doing this. Now they're sitting at the same table together, but none of them are talking to each other. They're all talking on these to other people. But they're sitting there at the same table.
There's no fellowship. There's no.
They're not even talking to each other or relating to each other.
I saw a neat ad on television this week. The family is at the dinner table, and everybody in the family is doing this.
Right.
The mother comes in and sees all that happen. She reaches up and pushes the Wi-Fi off.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking, what happened? What happened?
Yeah. She goes, for dinner with no Wi-Fi. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, who wrote Ecclesiastes?
Solomon.
It sounded like his.
It's Solomon. Yeah.
When you think of disasters and when people live through them, they lost everything. But they say, we're alive.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're all okay. And I think it makes you rethink that really the only thing that is important is, like you said, well, a relationship with God. But you also, your relationship with people. I mean, if I had the whole house standing, it wouldn't matter if I didn't have my husband in it.
Exactly.
You know, I could have everything in that house, but it was not, you know, I'd rather be in a tent. It was a very good mattress, but, you know, 'cause I can't
That's
sleep
why
on
we
the
do
ground.
the RV.
And, you know, here's what's fascinating.
That's why we
You
do
know, and I'll just
RV.
mention this and then we should move on. You know, this whole thing was Las Vegas, but one thing that was, again, we saw it with the hurricanes, we saw, is just how many, just your average ordinary people stepping up and stepping into the situation to help their fellow human beings. Just by the dozens.
No matter what.
No matter who they were, they didn't matter. At that moment,
Or
it
what
didn't
you
matter
did
what
with
gender, it didn't matter what race, it didn't matter what, anything about it. They were a fellow human being who was in need of help. And people just rose to the occasion to say, you know what, you're a fellow human being in need, I'll help you.
They will cover their own body with
Yeah,
a complete
I mean, it was-
stranger and lose your life for it.
Absolutely. So this is
That,
just amazing what we saw with all the hundreds and hundreds of people just, I don't even know who you are. I came to this concert, you happen to be sitting, 10 feet away, and if you're in pain and you're hurt, I'm gonna help you. And there was hundreds of that. Besides the people that get paid to do that, these are just your people that were there to watch this whole thing. Same, we saw this in the hurricanes, where just people were putting people in their car, taking them to where they needed to go, just getting them out of harm's way. So please stand with me for the Elena, the traditional Elena on page 95.